Congratulations to all having the foresight to participate in these tools and technologies that are going to change the entire face of the planet for the better. And I'm here to share you a little bit about why I'm so excited about Fantom and this ecosystem in general. And for those that don't know, my name is Roger Veer. I was the first person in the world to start investing in this whole cryptocurrency ecosystem. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I was so excited about all of these things and why I'm excited about Fantom specifically today. So anyhow, this is a quote from Brian Armstrong, the founder of Coinbase.com. So he said this way back in 2016, and he was talking about how digital currency will change the world. And Brian said, digital currency may be the most effective way the world has ever seen to increase economic freedom. If this happens, the implications are profound. It could lift many countries out of poverty, improve the lives of billions of people, and accelerate the pace of innovation in the world. And so hard to believe that that was more than 5 years ago he said that, but here we are on track to change the pace of innovation around the world. And that brings us to Fantom, right? So how Fantom will help change the world? Well, I'm saying today that decentralized, permissionless everything may be the most effective way the world has ever seen to increase economic freedom. Well, that leads us to what the heck is economic freedom? Well, it's simply put, it can be how easy it is to start a business, whether property rights are enforced, free trade with people in other nations, or maybe even other planets pretty soon if Elon Musk steps up the pace there. The regulation of labor and business and the stability of the currency, right? So we're seeing all this happen with the whole blockchain, DeFi, cryptocurrency space. It's really amazing to see it happening before our eyes here. And as someone who's been in it, the ecosystem more than a decade now, it's really amazing how far we've come, how quickly. But here we have a chart that's slightly out of date now. I couldn't find more recent numbers at the moment because the worldwide pandemic makes it really hard. But back in 2018, here's a list of the countries with the most economic freedom and the countries with the least amount of economic freedom. And we see topping the list were places like Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, Switzerland, and Australia. And notice the great old UAE right there at number 10 on the list of countries with the most economic freedom in the world. And the countries with the least amount of economic freedom are places like North Korea, Venezuela, and Cuba. And well, the chart's nice and the data there's nice, but sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words. And so we can see Hong Kong in the 1950s versus Hong Kong today. What an amazing transformation there that we've seen happen. And we can see the exact same sort of thing happen here in the UAE. If you look at Dubai in 1980 versus Dubai today, it's basically unrecognizable. And if you look in that little red circle part there, those three buildings there are in the picture on the right. But look, now they're little tiny buildings compared to the other ones around them, whereas back in 1980, those were big giant skyscrapers in the area compared to everything else that was around, which, as you can see in the photo, was almost nothing. And here we have pictures of Havana, Cuba, right? In the same sort of time period, from 1950 to today. Well, Cuba's been one of the countries with the least amount of economic freedom in the world, and they've been one of the places that's made the least amount of progress. And it's really, I guess, sad to see that what a missed opportunity they could have had there. If Cuba had more economic freedom, the way everyone makes their lives better is by trading with other people. And so if you can trade with people in Cuba or the UAE or China or Mexico or anywhere else around the world, it makes everybody better off when the trade happens. If it didn't make both people better off, the trade wouldn't happen at all. So the more free trade you can have around the world, the better off everybody becomes. And so, well, why is economic freedom so important? Well, it leads to a higher per capita income, higher life expectancy, higher literacy rates, better income for the poorest 10% in society, improved environmental protection, fewer wars and violent conflicts, and higher self-reported happiness of citizens with less corruption and bribery. So who doesn't want to have more money, live longer, be able to read more, have the poorest in society be better off, and have a cleaner environment with cleaner air and water and more trees, with fewer wars and conflicts? Like, all of these things are things that just about everybody agrees are good. And economic freedom leads to all of those things. And we can see here in some great charts, right? So in green are the countries with the most economic freedom, down to lighter green, yellow, orange, and red with the least amount of economic freedom. And we can see the income level of the poorest 10% in society. Well, the people with the poorest people living in the most economically free countries have the highest income there. It's really a clear correlation there. You want to be, if you're going to be in the poorest 10% of society, you want to be in the country with the most amount of economic freedom. Ask yourself, would you rather be a poor person in Switzerland, Hong Kong, Singapore, UAE, or Venezuela or Cuba or North Korea. Of course, if you're going to be a poor person, you want to be a poor person in an economically free country, because economically free countries, the poor people are much better off. And again, we can see the income per capita in general. The countries with the most economic freedom, you have a higher per capita income. Very, very, very clear correlation there, with green having the most economic freedom and the most per capita income, with red having the least amount of economic freedom and the lowest per capita income. Very, very clear correlation there as well. And again, adult literacy rates. Countries with more economic freedom, more people know how to read. Is that causation or effect? Don't know, but very, very, very clear correlation right there. So in countries with more economic freedom, more people know how to read, whereas in countries with less economic freedom, fewer people know how to read. And I recommend everybody read a book called Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. You can get it for free online, or you can buy it in Amazon or Kindle or whatever. It's sold millions and millions of copies, and it will literally change the way you view the entire world. In fact, I liked that book so much that I'm recording this video here in the lovely island nation of Antigua. I bought 1,000 copies of that book to give it out to school kids here in the country, because it will really help you see the world more clearly. So I really highly recommend Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt, and it will really improve your understanding of the way the world works. And again, we can see life expectancy. In countries with more economic freedom, people live longer than in countries with less economic freedom. And if you think about it, it's very, very clear. In countries with more economic freedom, people have more money. They can afford to spend more of that money on healthcare. You'll have better quality healthcare with more hospitals with better paid and better trained doctors and medical equipment and all the things that go along with that. And you're going to wind up living longer. Plus, along the way, you'll have better food and better just a better standard of living in a cleaner environment. And you're going to be happier too. So happier people live longer as well. So there's some very, very clear data there as well. And again, unemployment. Well, guess what? When you have a whole bunch of politicians and bureaucrats controlling and micromanaging every aspect of the economy and trying to boss business people around and tell them what they can or can't do, well, it's going to make it harder for them to hire people, and you're going to have fewer jobs. And if you have fewer jobs, you're going to have more unemployment. And in countries with more economic freedom, where businesses are free to hire people and engage in commerce to provide consumers the things that they want and offer people the jobs that they need and want, well, you're going to have less unemployment as well. So you can see very, very clearly, in countries with more economic freedom, more people have jobs. In countries with less economic freedom, fewer people have jobs. So very, very, very clear correlation there as well. And I can tell you from my own experience, if you want me to hire somebody, it's going to be in a country where the government's going to leave me and the person that I've hired alone for the most part. It's not going to be in a country where they want to micromanage every aspect of an employer-employee relationship. And again, infant mortality rates, right? If you've seen the miracle of a baby being born, you want to see more babies survive being born, and you want to see the mom survive of giving birth. It's a very, very it's just an amazing part of life. I'm at a loss for words how amazing it is here. And in countries with more economic freedom, more moms and more children will survive that birthing process. So if you want to see more children and more moms survive that, more economic freedom is the best tool that we have to enable that. And you can see the very, very clear correlation here between green to red, with more economic freedom versus less economic freedom. And again, children in the labor force, right? If you don't want to see 5-year-old kids, working, huge numbers of hours all day, every day, well, the best way to do that isn't to pass a law to make it illegal. The best way to do that is to repeal laws, giving people more economic freedom so that the adults in society can work hard to earn enough money to be able to afford, so that the kids can go to school rather than have to work in a factory somewhere. So the best tool we have to have fewer children in the labor force and being able to enjoy their childhood and schooling and education and playing with friends and that sort of thing is through more economic freedom, not through laws forbidding children from working in the labor force. So, and again, you can see very, very clearly, in countries with more economic freedom, and more economic freedom means less laws governing, who's allowed to get a job and how much they get paid and that sort of thing. Fewer children are working in the countries with less laws regulating that sort of thing than in countries with more. So you can see the very clear correlation there in this chart as well. And it's important to point out, though, correlation does not prove causation, but we see example after example in both theory and in practice all over the world of greater economic freedom leading to better results for rich and poor alike. We can make some really, really strong inferences, and it's really true. You travel the world and you'll see it's so clear. In places with more economic freedom, people have a higher standard of living and are happier and have a better life than in places with less economic freedom and more bureaucrats trying to boss them around and telling them what they can or can't do. And so that brings us to Fantom and its impact on economic freedom around the world. Well, Fantom, it makes it easier for you to start a business. It enforces property rights. It promotes free trade. It enables freedom of contract, and it enables people to opt out of corrupt systems. So let's talk about a few of these sort of things. Like, look at all the amazing stuff happening in the DeFi space, right? Where you can earn, what does a normal bank account pay you in interest now? 0.1% if you're lucky. Very reasonably, you can earn north of 10% on your assets in DeFi, and sometimes significantly more than that in a decentralized, distributed, uncensorable way that's accessible to anybody anywhere on the planet. That's a really, really, really powerful tool. And you can start a business in this place too. You can make your own DEX, you can make your own DApp, you can make your own anything you want to make on this thing. But my advice is for you to do it within a country that's accepting and welcoming and friendly towards those sort of things. One towards the very, very top of my list at the moment is the UAE. They are really rolling out the red carpet for people involved in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So make sure you take a look into the UAE if that's something that you're interested in there. And if you support countries that have more economic freedom and give people more control over their own lives, well, the UAE seems to be a country that's well, and has a good track record of being on that path as well, and is continuing down that path. So special thanks to the UAE on that front as well, and special thanks to everybody that's involved in Fantom for helping enable those things, because this is all a really big deal for people all over the world. And I've actually been spending more and more time in the UAE myself recently, and I expect to be spending even more time there in the future. It's really a fantastic place, as you can see by all the people around you that are attending this conference and other things happening in the UAE all the time. It's really an amazing hub of innovation and on track to becoming as if it hasn't already, but it's really going to continue being one of these tier 1 cities across the entire planet that's going to lead the way into the future for all of humankind. So it's really exciting to be a part of that and seeing all the people excited about Fantom and cryptocurrencies in general, specifically the ones that actually work for payments and cash, because that's really, really important. If the poor can't afford to use these cryptocurrencies, it doesn't do nearly as much to help those people as the ones that are accessible and affordable for people to use all around the world. So that's why one of the reasons why I'm excited about Fantom as well. So anyhow, Brian, way back in 2016, he said, if we can create these things, that it will serve as a giant economic stimulus package for the world, accelerate innovation, reduce wars, make the poorest 10% better off, overthrow corrupt governments, and raise happiness. Who can't be excited about those things? So very, very well put, Brian, and thank you for starting Coinbase, who's been one of the best platforms to bring these digital currencies to people all over the world there as well. And so that's why today I'm saying that Fantom and digital currencies in general are the best tools the world has ever seen to accomplish these goals. So here we are today, and you, the developers that are building on Fantom or any other blockchain out there, you guys are the ones that are building the tools to enable this for the entire planet. So special thank you to all of you that are out there participating in this, because you're literally building the tools that are going to be the foundation to move all of human society forward, in which each individual has complete control over their own financial resources and has the ability to send and receive any amount of money with anyone, anywhere in the world, or participate in any other financial platform with anyone else anywhere in the world. That hasn't existed before the invention of decentralized digital currencies and smart contracting and all this amazing stuff that's going on out there. So special thank you to all the developers out there that are building the tools that people like myself and others get to use. And yeah, so make sure you tell your friends. You can get started today with Fantom. It's an amazing platform, one of thousands that are out there for competing for market share, but they're competing for market share by building tools that people will actually want to use. So if you're a fan of Fantom and want to see more people using it, build useful things on top of Fantom, and if you build something that's useful, people are going to use it. And so that's why I'm so excited about it today. And of course, I wouldn't be Roger Ver if I didn't mention, try out Bitcoin Cash while you're at it too. I hear it's going to be wrapped on Fantom here very, very shortly. In fact, maybe by the time you're watching this video, that will already be done. So we'll be able to use Bitcoin Cash on top of the Fantom blockchain as well. And anyhow, I'm crypto agnostic in terms of anything that actually works. And I like Fantom because it actually works, and I like anything that works out there. So if something's useful, people are going to use it. So let's all get out there together and cooperate to build useful tools that people around the world can work. So anyhow, that's me. I'm Roger Veer. I was the first investor in a bunch of different cryptocurrency businesses, and glad to be participating in the Fantom ecosystem now as well. And special thanks to Harry Ye for inviting / strong-arming me to participate today, but I'm very glad to participate. So thank you all, and I hope to be able to see you all in person the next time. And get started with Fantom today and cryptocurrencies to make the world a better place for everyone. Thanks so much.